All right, today we're going to be looking at section 1.5, linear equations, functions, zeros, and applications. You have a few definitions here in the text, and they give you a definition of a linear equation, something of this form: mx plus b equals 0, where m and b are real numbers. So generally, one variable, you could have two, y equals mx plus b, but the variable will not have an exponent. It'll be to the first power. So in this section, they talk about the solving principle. I used to refer to it as just going through PEMDAS backwards. You have a linear equation, and then you want to solve it. So they find the least common denominator of 4 and 5, and that will help you get rid of the fractions. So you multiply both sides by 20. Doing so, the 20 and the 4 will divide to give you 5, and then that 5 you multiply by 3. That's how they get to 15. So they're not really showing you all the little intricate steps. Or you can think of 20 times 3, which gives you 60, and then do 60 divided by 4, and you still get 15. You also have to distribute. So this, since you have two terms, you got to distribute through. So 20 times this minus 1 gives you a negative 20. So that's what they're showing you here, distributive property, and this is the end result. Over here, they do the same thing. When you multiply, either you multiply to the top or you just divide it with the number on the bottom, but you do not multiply this number on the top and the bottom. Okay, so they go through the process. They're explaining what they're doing, multiplication and addition principle. That's pretty much all they're going to be using to solve linear equations. Here, when they get to the end, you divide to get your variable by itself, and then you get you a solution. So once you get your solution, it's always good to go back and double check and make sure it works. This tidbit is pretty good. It shows you that you can solve these with a calculator using an intersection method that explains the process. I can show you this in class if you would like to see it and you have a graphing calculator or the ability to use one. Other than that, it just shows you another example. I think they do it with the graphing method, and they also do it, it may be the same problem, it may be a different problem. Maybe that's the previous problem that they're showing with the graphing method, but they do show you another example solving it without fractions. So you got one with fractions, one without fractions, and then we have a couple of special cases. So some equations have no solution. That's what we're pointing out here. You know that will be the case when you simplify and your variables, so the x's completely cancel out on both sides. So we ended up with 7 equals 17. This is a false statement, okay? So if you get a false statement, then that expression has no solution, okay? So if you get a false statement, no solution. Now, there are some other ones that have any real number solution, so that means any number you plug in will work. So what happens in this scenario, all your x's will cancel out again, and the final answer we get in this scenario is 3 equals 3, which is a true statement. So if you get a true statement, then that means any real number is a solution, and if you have to put it in set notation, it will look like this. If you want to put it in interval notation, it will look like this, but that means all real numbers. Now, there's a lot more information in the chapter. It will be good to review it and know it for future sections. Some of these will pop up. However, it's not any problems on the homework covering this. So this is just going over how to do applications, word problems, basically applying what you've just learned. So there's several pages. And then they also introduce you to some more formulas. The distance formula, when we're talking about speed and rate, different things going at trying to get somewhere at a certain time. And then they also go over simple interest formula, which we'll see that later on in the section as well. So all of this is what you will need to do chapter 1. In addition, I think we'll see some domain and range in this section, and some zeros as the first page suggested. Let me go all the way back to the beginning. So from those learning objectives, you're going to solve linear equations, solve applied problems, which we won't see any, find zero. So we'll find the first and third, but we don't have any applications in our section this time. All right, so we're going to jump over to My Math Lab and get started.